We'll get to, right to the council meeting, for September 2nd, 2025. Who's that? Didn't be bad. Can you hear me in the audience okay? Okay? Anybody? All right, thank you. First of all, the Wi-Fi is down here today, not sure why. And it's not back.
Can't hear you. Okay, we can't hear you here.
Sorry, I'll watch that. The Wi-Fi is down today and I'm not sure why, but so this isn't being recorded and I'm hearing feedback over here somewhere. Okay, first item is the adoption of the agenda. And something that's happened like this.
Excuse me, could I ask a question?
Go ahead.
I was just wondering why this was 9 o'clock in the morning instead of 8 o'clock at night where everybody could be here. I think somewhere along the line, some of our people were listening. And I'm just curious as to why it was handled this early instead of when everybody could make it.
Because the bylaw of township meetings, there's the first meeting in September, the first meeting of the month is the first Tuesday at 9 in the morning, and the second meeting is the third Tuesday at 7 or 6:30 rather.
Thank you.
The following Friday.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, motion to accept the agenda. We have mover and seconder, moved by Way, seconded by Gillis. I'm wondering if we can amend the agenda slightly by moving CA report 19 up to immediately following the delegation by Pro-Win. Get it all out of the way at once. Do you have any objection to that? Mover and seconder? That's okay. So the motion as, so the agenda as amended, all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Any declaration of pecuniary interest in the general nature there is? Councillor Buchner.
Yeah, I have a conflict of interest with Strange report DD08 2025. My wife owns one of the properties in question.
A little louder, please.
I have a conflict of interest with DD08 2025. My wife owns one of the properties.
Thank you. Councillor Gifford.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I have no direct interest in the Pro-Wind proposal. I do have a contract with an alternate wind company for a project that was recently proposed. And as such, I'm going to step away from the meeting for the 925, 940, and 955 delegations, as well as the CAO report 19, 2025.
Okay, thank you. You both are those forms and second with the clerk. Or will have, thank you. Minutes of the preceding meeting in August 12th meeting, they're moved and seconded, moved by Craig, seconded by Wade. Any errors or omissions in the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Business arising from the August 12th meeting, clerk's report CL 48. We have a mover and seconder for that report, moved by Yipma, seconded by Buchner. Any errors or omissions, any comments, questions? All those in favor then? Opposed? That's carried. Moves on to our delegations and appointments. The first one is a committee of adjustment, minor variance application for Mike, Tammy, and Linda Reed. Are they here? Could they come up to the table, please? Okay, so moving into a meeting of the committee of adjustment. Need a motion within the committee of adjustment. Moved by Way, seconded by Thurston. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Motion to accept the agenda of the committee of adjustment. Gillis and Buchner. Any discussion? All those in favor? Declaration of pecuniary interest on the committee of adjustment. Seeing none. Minutes of the August 12th committee of adjustment, moved by Pickard, seconded by Thurston. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Now we're down to the minor variance application for, Mike, Tammy, and Linda Reed, property located at 26 Overall Road in, Beachville. So, I'm taking this with Mike. Okay, so Mike, the process is very simple. The planner will, go through the report. I'm sure you've seen the report. We have a copy there. Then council has an opportunity to ask any questions they want regarding, clarification of any of the items in the report. Then you have an opportunity to do the report. Then anyone in the public can speak in favor or opposed. And then eventually it comes back to the committee of adjustment to make a decision. Okay? So if you would, Laura, please.
Thank you. Technical difficulties, I can get my computer.
Thank you. Mayor Mayberry, members of the committee and members of the audience and staff. Mr. Reed, thank you for being here today and for speaking with me about your application. So this is minor variance application A1325F. The applicants, Mike, Tammy, and Linda Reed have proposed relief from the front yard depth provisions of the zoning bylaw to facilitate a 72.75 square meter or 783 square foot addition onto the existing house. And there'll be two parts to the addition. One is a mudroom at the front of the house to provide for covered accessible entry. And the second part is a new garage. And also to recognize the existing lot area and lot depth is a non-conforming lot. So as part of this application, we'll recognize the non-conforming aspects of the lot. As mentioned, this application pertains to 26 Lowville Road. The property is in the village of Beachville. The surrounding land uses include residential uses to the north, east, south, and west, also zoned R1, and the County of Oxford water treatment is also located to the west. As I mentioned, the property is zoned residential type 1 zone and designated settlement in the official plan as contained in the designated settlement in the township's land use plan as contained in the official plan. This application, as with all others, was circulated to agencies and staff for the comment. There were no questions or concerns raised from staff or agencies with this proposal. And I'd like to note the applicant is aware that they need to work with the building services staff. Public notice was provided to surrounding property owners on August 11th, 2025. There were no questions or comments received from any members of the public. In terms of analyzing this application, this proposal is consistent with the expected growth in settlement areas, so consistent with the official plan. As the lot was created prior to the establishment of the bylaw, and we've discussed this type of lot before, it doesn't meet the lot area and lot depth provisions. This is normal. There's many lots throughout the County of Oxford that were created before bylaws were established. In looking at the lot, staff are satisfied that the lands can be considered legal non-complying, and this has been included in the recommended variance. Staff is also of the opinion that the addition will not negatively impact the surrounding land uses. The ability to utilize the lot in terms of maintaining existing structures, drainage, vehicular traffic, and it will not negatively impact road maintenance. This was also discussed with building and public works staff in terms of being able to maintain the road properly as we're asking for a front depth reduction. Staff is of the opinion that the recommended relief from the front yard depth can be considered minor and desirable for the subject property. The application can be considered for approval subject to the condition that the proposed addition shall generally be located as shown on plate 3, which is right there. Shall generally be located as shown on plate 3. depicting a 4.3 meter or 14 foot setback from the front property line to the satisfaction of the township of Southwest Oxford. I'd like to note that the purpose, again, of the mudroom addition at the front is to provide for covered accessible access, and it will be connected to a ramp and a walkway. So it will facilitate ongoing use and longer use of the property by the residents of the dwelling. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, all. Questions from council for clarification? Seeing none, and now to the applicant, any comments you want to make on the report? Just push the gray button in the center there.
She covered all of it. I'm good.
Okay, you're satisfied with the recommendation to report? Okay, anyone in the public want to speak to this application? Anyone in the public want to speak opposed to the application? Seeing none, back to council for comments, or sorry, committee of adjustment for comments. Councilor Gillis, go ahead, please. Sorry.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no concerns. It's just a regular lot in Beachville, no concerns for what's being planned.
Any other comments? No other comments, all right, then we're ready for a motion. Do we have a mover or seconder for the motion? Moved by Yip and seconded by Gillis, and the motion would be Councilor Yip.
That we approve the request.
That push for,
There we go. I move that we approve the request.
and Councilor Gillis, that's what you're, sorry, Councilor Gillis, that's what you're seconding. Okay, any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed, that's carried. Under committee of adjustment, the waiting period is 20 days from the day the notice goes out, so that should be tomorrow or Thursday, the notice will go out 20 days later. If there's no appeals, and who can appeal this? No one except the township or yourself or a higher level of government. So, as long as you don't appeal, we don't appeal, everything will be fine. Okay. Sorry about that. All right, so we're done, and we need a motion into the committee of adjustment. Moved by White, second by Gillis. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, that's carried. You're free to go. No, it's me. It's me. Now 9:13, we have a request for appeal for invoice by David Pye. Is David here? Come on up to the table, please, sir.
For my lawyer, but we
Okay.
Guys.
Okay, speaker there in front of you, just push the button and away you go.
Okay, thanks so much. Yeah, thank you for meeting me today here. I will be upfront about the open fire at the property in Beachville. I was present at the time and when the fire department arrived, they told that if I extinguished it right away, which I did using the snow around me, I'd be given a warning applied with their direction immediately. That's why I was surprised when I later received a bill for $1,291. I completely understand the township's need to enforce fire safety, cover costs for unnecessary call-outs, but in this situation, I acted in good faith, cooperated fully with the fire department, and I believe the matter was closed with just a warning. This is the first time I had any issues like this, and I respect the bylaw, and I assure you won't have it again. Given that I complied with instructions on the spot and was under the impression this would be treated as a warning, I'd like to respectfully ask if the township could reconsider or reduce the charge. I want to remain in good standing with the township and avoid any further issues. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments from council? And Councillor Pickard.
Yes, sir. If you were aware of the bylaw, then why were you inquiring?
It's a rental property, I've had it for 15 years and aware with it, it was more or less. I was under the impression I could have a fire, but I didn't know, open fire. It's one of those things that it was small enough to kick it with some snow, and I had there's a frontal neighbor that I'm pretty sure might have been the one and not, I wouldn't say names, et cetera, but I feel like it was not necessary to call the fire department for it. So.
As I understand it, you were burning a Chesterfield,
No,
and we should ask the fire chief to comment.
Shane, do you want to comment?
Through your worship, to members of council. Fire services did respond to this said property and they did extinguish what, looked to be the remnant of a Chesterfield or a couch or a David. The picture of the fire is in your package.
Any other comments from council? So, the wish of council is? Councillor Wade.
First of all, I wanna, in this report, there's nothing mentioned about extinguishing the fire, there'd be no fees charged. And you said that they told you that, but in this report,
no, sorry.
in this report, there's nothing mentioned about that conversation that took place, that there would be, that if you extinguish it, there'd be no fees. So I read the report. There's nothing talks or mentions about that conversation, so I don't know if it happened or it didn't happen. So.
Absolutely, when they came on to the property there, they mentioned if we get the hoses, et cetera, if you kick it out, we'll get you off the warning. I knew a few of them, not to say, they should play favoritism, but absolutely, they said, we're gonna just give you a warning. And our fire chief might get a hold of you for a follow-up, but I will 100% say if I kick it out, they don't have to proceed with, them getting their whole outfits, on the, therefore, that was, the conversation absolutely happens. So, not too sure what to say in their reports and what they put in there, but that's what I can say to whomever.
Any other questions or comments, Councillor Pickard?
I just commented that the municipality spent $1,200 to put that fire out.
Right.
The municipality spent $1,200 to put that fire out.
Yeah.
If you don't pay it.
They didn't put it out. I put it out.
Well, they still,
I picked it up, so.
we still have to pay the firefighters now. Somebody's gotta pay that.
I agree.
If you don't pay it, then the rest of the taxpayers have to.
I agree.
Okay, then,
Yeah.
all right.
Any further questions or comments from council? Councillor Billis, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. Despite the homeowner's comments, I do have concerns with this. It clearly looks remnants of a frame of either a bed or mattress, burned within a village area. We do have a bylaw and we need to support it. I do see in the report, there was 2 trucks that responded. The bill could have been higher with a 3rd truck that would have responded. I think we need to hold on our case for the bylaws that we have initiated, and that's unfortunate in this case, but you can't be burning, especially, that looks small based on the picture, but, actually a full-size, mattress or couch creates a lot of heat and a fair-sized fire when it's actually burning. So I think we should both pay on our bylaw and piece that flag.
Sorry, any other comments? Councilor Yedlin, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It seems to me that if there was a conversation had upon arrival of fire services, that perhaps fire services should receive some instruction from their leadership as to withholding those comments pending the outcome of the scene.
Any other comments? And the direction from council is? Councilor Wade.
I move that we deny his request and then he pay the fines as a piece.
Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Pickard. Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Sorry for today. Meyer. Well,
He's going to college now.
generally in lawyers, you get what you pay.
I know. Thanks for your time.
No problem, David.
Take care.
Our next delegation is Marlene Van Ham. Marlene, we're a couple minutes early. Do you mind starting early?
Yeah, so I wanted to make sure that everybody made it into the building. But is there still a line outside the door? Oh, okay, good.
Go ahead, please, Marlene.
Want to start off by thanking the mayor and council for the opportunity to come before you. We actually come representing the community of Southwest Oxford. And on June 17th, there was a meeting where a motion was made and passed. And subsequent to that, we learned that there's been an allegation or comment that the due process was not followed. And so we're coming here to more or less in support of the decision and motion reached by council on June 17th. This delegation is going to be referencing the AMO's municipal procurement toolkit. And using that, we're going to submit that council did in fact act in accordance with the due process in a fair and balanced manner as outlined in that toolkit manual. This delegation encourages council to hold to the decision, which was the will of the community. So the document, just to highlight the validity of that document, it was intended to support municipal officials in reviewing and making decisions on the proposed any projects that come before them. And it was created with the input of key figures that have expertise in that area and provide that in this toolkit for municipalities to follow. And on page 5, it states that on the direction of the Minister of Energy and Electrification, all electric projects, developers are required to obtain written confirmation of municipal support for energy projects within municipal boundaries under long-term LT2 procurement. This requirement is intended to ensure that municipalities, and I underline municipalities because a synonym for municipalities is communities. It's a community that has been empowered to make a decision, and that decision carried through, I believe, the council. And so it's the municipalities, it's the communities that have control over electricity projects they wish to host within their communities. Sure, it's the community's decision. It's not the developer's decision. It's not staff's decision. It's not mayor's decision. It's not council's decision. It's community. The community of Southwest Oxford is to have the opportunity to decide based on this document on what projects are going to have in the community. Different levels of engagement. And here's where the allegation is that a developer didn't have opportunity to follow through to the completion of different stages, but the document highlights the different stages. The first one being pre-engagement, which I understand the developers had 5 opportunities of pre-engagement of staying meeting for council to present their proposal. Then the municipal support confirmations and the downstream approvals. Successful completion of one stage doesn't guarantee municipalities will approve any further stages, which happened in this case. Council by wish of the community said no at the pre-engagement stage, and that should stand on its own. And municipalities are not required to give any further support beyond their initial indication to a developer. So it's up to the municipalities, communities to determine whether the project is best suits the interests of their community. Again, it's the community who this document is highlighting has the right to determine. And we feel that the community through council did that. It was a fallen property. If a municipality does not support a project at the time of proposal submission, it won't be eligible for the LT2 contract. And that's our point. The decision was made. There's no reason to go any further. And conversely, municipalities are not willing hosts, and there's been discussion about the whole term of unwilling hosts. Well, this document recognizes a form of that term of unwilling host, not willing host for certain types of projects. The pre-engagement offers the first opportunity to indicate to the developer that a project is unlikely to be approved. It happened in the first opportunity, as the encouragement of this document says, it's encouraging councils at the first opportunity you recognize that the community is not in support, you have the right, you follow procedure to say no at the pre-engagement process. There's no reason to go any further. There's no reason to feel like you're liable for any type of action because the document doesn't give an opportunity for anyone to take action upon a council decision and support the community. And as we talk about the MRSPSs, the MSCs, and it seems to me that the feeling is that the developer has to be given an opportunity to make application. The document doesn't indicate that at all. The document clearly states pre-engagement, you can say no then. But it's up against the host community. The community, again, to not belabor the point, but it's the community to make the decision. This document gives the community a final authority. And it's not the developer that continues to push it. It's not anyone other than the community that decides we don't want this in our community. And so municipalities or communities retain the right to decline a request to have an MSR SPS issue. So that the document gives an indication of opportunities for bylaw controls. And now what areas of municipalities or surrounding uses are preferred locally. And again, here goes back to previous experiences that communities tend to be more favorable if these industrial turbines are left in industrial areas or in former aggregate pits. And it acknowledges that community support is unlikely in agricultural areas or residential areas, which these are assigned to prime agricultural areas, very close to residential areas. So the vital opportunity is to establish a law that protects class 1, 2, and 3 agricultural land from industrial use. And that should be, I would think, a priority for Sulphur for council, which we are agricultural. Again, how does it impact, these projects impact surrounding land uses, the minimum setbacks. The setback that is established for Ontario is far inadequate compared to other regions. And the opportunity for a council to establish a further setback, we would recommend as a community a 2,000 meter setback, not only from residential, but also from livestock buildings. Livestock can be impacted by the wind turbines. Another bylaw for control under LT2, ground mounted solar projects are prohibited on prime agricultural areas. They're not even to be considered to go in class 1, 2, or 3. So there's an opportunity for the council to make their decision making easier and to make their position clearer, is to establish a bylaw that prohibits industrial wind turbines on class 1, 2, and 3 agricultural land, which is similar to solar, which solar would support.
Thank you, Wendell. Thank you, council, for allowing us to speak to you again about this topic. I'd like to start by saying that I'm extremely disappointed. I'm disappointed in ProWinds for blatantly ignoring the will of the majority of the residents of this township. I am disappointed that not only did they ignore the people of the township, they are ignoring the decision of council that was made in June, right here in this hall, when they voted successfully to declare Southwest Oxford an unwilling host. But here we are. When we first started out on this path to halt the wind turbine developments proposed for our area,
Someone in our group suggested that we tackle this by adding a section in the zoning bylaw. This way, it would be dealt with once and for all. I, at the time, did not think this was necessary. I naively thought that if we would declare ourselves an unwilling host, the wind companies, like ProWind, would respect our decision, not ignore and disrespect it. So now I feel like a zoning bylaw would be the appropriate way to proceed. And on that note, we have a few suggestions. First, let me say we are not against all renewable energy systems. We are discussing the wind turbines only. We are not against the personal use as an on-farm diversified use. We are opposed to large industrial turbine wind energy projects on class 1, 2, and 3 soils. We've looked at other countries and setbacks, and we would suggest a setback from occupied buildings for turbines with a total height of 200 meters to be 2,000 meters from the nearest residence, farm building occupied by livestock, any work locations, schools, residential facilities. The setbacks would be increased for taller turbines in proportion to the additional height. The setback from the lot lines to limit any ice throw and any debris scattered in the event of a fire. And yes, we do know it does happen. In order for the debris to be controlled, we ask that turbines shall be situated at least 1,200 meters from property boundaries for the land controlled by the operator of the turbine. For turbines larger than 200 meters, again, it would be increased in proportion to the additional height. Controlling the shadow flicker, the turbines will be located in such a position that any shadows cast by the operation of the turbine will be limited to the property controlled by the operator of the turbine. If they fall outside, the operation will be shut down.
Marlene, just for a second, I forgot to say you had 10 minutes, which you already knew. But since I didn't say that, I'm gonna let you finish because I know you're almost done. I
No problem.
apologize for that.
No problem. Fire safety, my last slide, the operator will ensure that there's a fire detection equipment in place. Closing statements, the community of Southwest Oxford applauds council for your decision and action on June 17th. It was well thought out and clearly a reflection of the will of the residents of Southwest Oxford. It did not violate recognized process nor informed decision. On June 17th, the willing host question was settled. The decision of council was made and it was formalized by vote. To revisit the question would be disrespecting the will of the community and the decision of council. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. First of all, that was 11 minutes, so I'm going to give everybody else 11 minutes as well, 11 minutes and 3 seconds to be exact. Questions for council? Any questions for council? Any comments? Seeing none, just a quick comment. You realize the AMO the AMO guidelines are a suggestion, not legislation. Right, okay. And several times you mentioned.
Could I respond to that?
Sure.
Right, so the point is that it's to reflect that there was due process followed, recognize that it's not legislation, but it's to counter the accusation that the process wasn't followed and that there's a liability to the township. And that's what we wanted to refute, and the document clearly refutes that accusation.
Okay, the other comment I wanted to make was a number of times, Wendell, you suggested that the community got to choose. And in fact, it's very clear that it's council for the municipality that chooses. And while I would agree, while I would agree that councils tend to follow the will of the community, it is ultimately their responsibility. I'd also remind everyone in the audience, unless you're sitting at the table, there's no opportunity to speak unless you've asked for delegation status. So there's no comments allowed. Thank you. Anything further?
If I could respond to that, if I understand democracy properly, elected officials are elected to present the will of the community that elected them, not to operate. No longer a democratic elected council, then I have a problem with the comment, because council is to reflecting the will of the people, like any elected official is to do. Following procedure and guidelines, I understand, but when it comes to an issue like this, and the premier, Doug Ford even said when he was elected, his primary concern was to let communities decide what goes in the community. And so that's supported by our premier today.
I would, love to have a discussion with you, Wendell, on our very different views on democracy. This is a fabulous place, and, I fully respect how you're addressing the issue. I don't agree, but that's fine, but this isn't the time or place for that. So, any further questions for the delegation? Seeing none, thank you very much. And the next delegation, the next delegation, you have 10 minutes, or 11 minutes and 3 seconds. From when you start.
Good morning, councilors and mayor. So Julia, this is my wife, Patty. I'd first like to thank you for the opportunity to speak in support of the proposed Government Hill Wind Farm. My family is in favor of this project. We feel producing clean, cost-effective energy on our farm is responsible use of agricultural land. Farming is a business, a farmer and landowner. As a farmer and landowner, maximizing profits earned on the land is a priority. The use of 1 acre of our land to host a wind turbine will not negatively affect the potential of the land to be farmed, but will increase its profitability. The extra income would help support our small farm, and the electricity generated by the wind farm would be an important resource for both our community and the province as a whole.
We want to encourage the council to consider the bigger picture. Our rights as landowners, fairness, and the importance of making decisions based on accurate, credible information. There's been a significant amount of misinformation and fear-mongering from the opposition group that promote outdated claims about health risks, property values, wildlife, and water safety. It's crucial that decisions are guided by facts and current research. When properly sited and responsibly managed, wind turbines are safe. Authorities like the Ontario Ministry of Health and Health Canada have confirmed that. These turbines will be located far enough from residences to minimize visual and noise impacts. The noise level will likely be less noticeable than the traffic on Highway 401 or the railroad in Beachville.
It has become clear there's quite a few people in the community who oppose turbines or believe they have no place in agricultural land, and we respect that opinion. However, we would argue that turbines are highly effective and responsible use of the small amount of land they occupy, and are just as much part of the rural landscape as barns and silos. It's important.
Excuse me, the audience will either remain quiet or, sorry, Lou. The audience remains quiet or leaves the room.
Thank you. It's important to recognize that a wind farm can coexist with agriculture and the rural environment without sacrificing its beauty or its function.
Wind turbines will blend into the modern countryside, much like towers, electrical transmission lines, and other infrastructures that are already permitted on agricultural land. The Guns Hill Wind Farm stands as a prime example of a responsible, well-sited development that we think is neither out of place nor off-putting.
Yes, wind turbines are new, they're unfamiliar, and they are tall structures. You can see them, and the opposition does not want to. The arguments being put forward by this group overshadow the main underlying motivation, which can be summed up as a clear, not my backyard. This is the main reason for pushing the Unwilling Host Declaration. Just because a well-organized group finds turbines unsightly is not a good enough reason to block wind farm projects. Unfortunately, this has worked in other municipalities where councils seem more interested in placating the vocal opposition rather than giving the wind farm proposal a fair and balanced review of the project and its proponents' concern. Southwest Oxford has an opportunity to lead rather than follow, to show that responsible renewable energy projects be given a fair chance to be evaluated on their merits instead of being dismissed outright.
Wind farms are currently the most cost-effective source of renewable energy. They do not burn fossil fuels. Our township, province, and country will need more of these projects to meet future electricity demands and achieve our climate goals.
We have a chance to be part of the renewable energy solution, to attract investment to Southwest Oxford and to benefit our community through this investment rather than letting it go elsewhere. Sometimes the right decision is not the popular one.
In closing, as local farmers and community members, we are requesting the chance to support our farm and family by using our land responsibly and maintain its agricultural integrity for future generations. We respectfully ask that the council please reconsider the non-willing host declaration and give Bower Hill Wind Farm proposal fair consideration for municipal support. Thank you.
How much time do we have left?
6 minutes.
And Josh, you got it.
Everybody hear me all right? We would like to take the time to thank the councilors and the township for our opportunity to speak here today. My name is James Hamilton, and this is my wife, Robin. As many of you may or may not know, we are part of the landowners who are involved in the Bower Hill Wind Project.
Our intent here today is for the councilors to hear our voice, as authentic as it can be, on our experience and our love of this community.
Has anyone here ever flown into Peterson International Airport? Next time, take notice where the main air traffic control tower is located. I am a 4th generation farmer, 3rd generation in this community. My grandfather's family was expropriated from Malton at the end of the Second World War, where now stands the air traffic control tower. At about the same time, Romney's paternal family was being displaced from their farm in Lithuania during World War II. Both of our families found Oxford County as their new home to establish roots. The underlying trend between our families was to immerse themselves in local politics, growth, and respective community spirit. Our shared histories are commitments to the prosperity of our townships.
I want to start by saying that I was very much against this project initially. In the past, we've been approached by other companies for wind projects, and in reading their contracts, we're feeling our rights were being abused and used for land procurement. My background is working for a large corporation and living in legal terms and agreements daily. I very much was in opposition to Hellman and ProWind. However, I can attest that I also did hold up this project for some time. To speak about that, we did due diligence and process. James and I moved outside of the county of Oxford bubble to acquire a law firm with much experience in energy contracts. We also spoke to multinational wind companies and went international, even seeking advice from some European government organizations. I can certainly say with time, I came to have a much better understanding of wind energy and the utmost respect for ProWind and how they've approached us, and how, like our families, wanted to entrench themselves in our community and help it grow and be prosperous. However, we do feel extremely disappointed that we didn't receive the same level of professionalism and support from our community and township council as we did with the energy industry and our extensive legal team. The township has known what a potential turbine placement would be. We have always had an open door policy at our farm, which we have demonstrated when James and I independently from his family bought our first farm along the west side of Sweetburg. We went and personally introduced ourselves to the 16 households that abut the field. We, like our families before, have always wanted to have the communication for growth together. During the process, we have not been offered the same light. We've had one community member who was opposed take the time to come to the farm and hear why we wanted to be a part of this project. I honestly feel so disrespected by a community and council, and even our warden, who is the chair of the township's Environmental and Energy Innovation Committee. One would think that you would be intrigued that some of your constituents were looking at areas of opportunity for growth, and yes, maintain our farm as farmland. We live and breathe so many, on this point, agriculture is the single largest gamble any family can take. We live and breathe so many uncontrollable variables. Opportunity like this proverbial golden egg to our farm and our community. This offers overarching additional stability, which we currently do not have the comfort of, As I said before, I do not have the fortune to be able to work and live and breathe my passion of farming. I've had to have an off-farm income that supports us and our two young children to continue. Having the opportunity for these turbines offers us so much in the way of being able to keep our farmland, stop development, and keep it farmland while paying dividends to the community where everyone here lives. I see daily what can happen in farm succession where generational farms are sold to developers or for lack of diversification are plundered to the highest bidder. To be progressive, we need to diversify and hope that our kids could be the fifth generation here and not be displaced like our families before us. What a better way than a company that feels the same about our community as we do. Like one of the councillors has stated, Helen Keller said it best, alone we can do so little, but together we can do so much.
Despite the Facebook claims, despite the Facebook claims that Ward 5 has been kept in the dark about this project, our neighbors were approached the very same day as we were and had the same knowledge of this project at the same time. We were and continue to be under no gag order or veil of secrecy. We have respected the process as it has unfolded and have calmly and quietly watched as the fear and hatred spread through the online forums. It has been a very trying time to sit back and take the defamation and threats shoulder to shoulder with the Pro-Win and members of the township staff. In a time from June 17th leading up to today, we've had a great opportunity to engage with our friends and neighbors, seeing as the public sentiment has cooled off. By and large, our observations and comments received from the neighborhood are positive. A large majority of the township hasn't voiced a negative word. They, as us, show their support for our neighbors and projects by not objecting, by remaining quiet and supportive. We may not agree or want to see what our neighbors do with their property, but we also want the same rights to do on our land what we want when it is our turn and when we adhere to the laws and regulations to do so. Believe it or not, we don't want to see this community torn apart by this division. Word on the street is that alternative energy projects are going to come on to Ontario regardless, and that our municipal governments are kicking the can down the road in order to defer the decisions to the provincial or federal government. We have faith that these councillors here today are in a terrific position to mediate and sculpt this division back into a meaningful and safe community for everyone. There isn't a one-size-fits-all when it comes to large-scale community pursuits. We've been shown your commitment to this community time and time again over the years, and we all trust that your honesty and integrity will continue to shine through. We will leave you with this quote by William A. Ward. The pessimist complains about the wind, the optimist hopes it will change, the realist adjusts the sails. Thank you very much for your time.
That's exactly 11 minutes, thank you. Any questions or comments from council? No questions, Councillor Becker, please.
Thank you very much for your honest and comments. I want you to know that I've heard them. You guys are the future of agriculture in Oxford County, people like yourselves, and innovators, you want to be innovators. It's just kind of unfortunate that we're in this position that we're in, even gravel, in some sense. Mr. Julian, you mentioned it twice that the council has been unfair. Could you expand on that?
How I would say would be unfair would just following and giving everybody like, there is a process, Upland Code seems to cut short, like, more discussion on this. It's, we're not even letting, studies to go through to allow everybody to understand fully how this is going to work, and there's a back and forth and compromise that could be reached, rather than just completely cutting short the discussion before even get started.
Any other questions, comments? I didn't step one, Mr. Julian, I know Mr. Hammer, the Hammertons grew corn, you grew corn.
We don't grow corn, we have, beef cows, we grow hay, some of our land is rented out to our neighbors who grow corn.
Okay, thank you. Just curious that, according to Grain Farmers of Ontario, 30% of all corn in Ontario goes into the ethanol market to reduce fuel for cars. And that seems to be okay with you. So, thank you. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, you're excused, and the next delegation will not live.
Why didn't you speak?
So, again, you have 11 minutes and 3 seconds, and the audience will remain quiet, and we start now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, councilors, thank you for giving me. Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and councilor, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. Today marks the 6th meeting with Southwest Oxford, but it's the first meeting that we're making an official request. Every previous meeting had a specific purpose, introducing our company, presenting to the community projects concept, sharing updates on engagement, providing technical reports, and ensuring that the most accurate information at every stage has been available. Our goal is to be transparent and collaborative, and to be fully informed and engaged. Today is the first time we are asking for formal consideration of our application for municipal support. There has been a lot of information in the public discourse about the size of our project, the intentions, and what the MSR actually means. Let me be clear, since October 2024, we have consistently communicated in every information package, open house, and update that the project is limited to 6 turbines. That has never changed. The community survey that claimed that we are proposing 30+ turbines was based on incorrect and misleading information. This is our first request for council before June 2027, when the IESO released the prescribed forms. Such a request was not feasible. The MSR is not a project approval, it simply acknowledges that we have met the criteria to submit the proposal to the IESO for consideration. A full project approval still requires comprehensive planning processes and several major reports. And any one of these reports could alter the project and stop it entirely if requirements are not met. We are not in partnership with any other developer. We are a local developer, our office is in Woodstock, and our only partners are the Community Energy Co-op and First Nations. While our German head office provides us with resources, we have full autonomy over our Canadian operations. Our goal is to make sure that council and the community have full facts before making decisions. We believe transparency builds trust, and today is about putting accurate information before you so that this discussion can move forward on the right foundation. Councillors, we are fully aligned with the Ontario Municipal Energy Procurement Toolkit quoted in an earlier presentation, and we applaud Sparks Council and staff for using that document and internal experience to create the process application guideline called Municipal Support Confirmation for Long-Term Procurement. We have committed to following the process set out by Sparks exactly as it has been provided to us. In order to make sure that we fully understood the township's expectations and did not miss any step, we created the mind map shown on this slide. It lays out 35 specific requirements in 8 categories set out by Sparks, and we have met every one of them. The visual shows our diligence not just in meeting expectations, but in respecting the municipal process, your process, openly, transparently, and with the goal to be in full alignment with your expectations. By meeting these requirements, we're not just checking boxes, we are showing that this project has been built on collaboration, compliance, and respect for the process. It is important to meeting the council requirements, and we knew that following the rules was not enough. We also understood that building a project in Southwest Oxford, we needed to listen carefully to the feedback from residents, council, and community groups and act on it. In direct response to the feedback, we made 3 significant turbine relocation changes. Turbine 4 was moved to create greater distance from the existing infrastructure and nearby residents. Turbine 6, that's the one closest to Spielberg, was shifted to increase the distance to the nearest home by 26% to about 850 meters. And turbine 1, the closest to Beachville, was relocated, now placing 760 meters from the nearest home, a 36% increase. The These were just small adjustments. They require time, resources, and engineering work, but they reflect our commitment to being good neighbors and developing this project with the community and not around it. We created a community benefit plan designed to share the value of the project locally in a fair and transparent manner. The fund provides 1% of gross revenue each year, estimated conservatively to be between $60,000 and $80,000 annually, or $1.2 to $1.4 million over the 20 years. It has three components. The first component is the Oxford County Community Project Fund, approximately $18,000 to $24,000 annually, which is very similar to the Hodges Pond Fund that we have created 8 years ago. The second component is the Southwest Oxford Community Benefit Transfer, a fixed $1,000 per megawatt, approximately $36,000 annually, with council having full discretion over how to allocate these funds to local priorities. The third one is a neighborhood support fund, 40% of that fund, approximately $24,000 to $32,000 annually, an application-based fund from nearby non-participating residents, prioritizing properties closest to the turbine. Each selected applicant may receive up to $5,000 to support eligible home projects, which can include energy efficiency upgrades, environmental initiatives, EV chargers, and reduced energy costs, and so on. Combined with local jobs and supplier opportunities and ongoing tax revenues, this plan is designed to make sure that the Power Hill Wind project delivers lasting value to the community. Why do we ask council to consider and insult support for this resolution at this time? I want to start by acknowledging something important. When the original motion declared this municipality to be an unwilling host was brought forward, the process was sudden, rushed, and the council deliberation was interrupted and did not follow the correct process. At that time, councillors were asked to support a motion based on information that was incomplete and in some cases inaccurate. Today, you have before you the full project proposal, a properly structured request for municipal support resolution, and the staff reports to guide your deliberation. Today, you have a chance to revisit the decision calmly, transparently, and with the benefit of accurate information. The ISO body that's responsible for evaluating energy projects had not released its prescribed forms until June 27th. That means any request for or against support before that date would have been premature. Council was put in a position to act without the full framework. Now we have the correct format. We have a full 187-page application for the municipal support, and we have a clear understanding of the process. It isn't about reversing course. It is about making sure that decisions based on facts, not assumptions, and on process, not pressure. In fact, the facts are corrected, and if the facts are corrected, your decision councillors can evolve as well. Secondly, I also want to demonstrate that what has changed because of our community speaking up. We heard the concerns from residents, from this council, and from local groups in direct response. We confirm and guarantee that the project size will be 6 turbines and not more. We relocated 3 turbines away from local traffic, away from beach road, and away from Spielberg to increase distance from homes in sensitive areas. And we introduced a benefit package for neighboring property owners to ensure fairness and close to those closest to the project. These are not small gestures. They are significant structural changes to the project based on community input. When a proponent listens and adapts and acts in good faith, it is reasonable for council to reconsider its position. Let's be clear, a municipal council resolution is not a project approval. It simply allows the ISO to evaluate the project based on its merits, which is price, location, and partnership. Council retains full authority. If at any point the project fails to meet township's requirements, you have the power to direct and even stop it. By supporting this resolution, you are not signing off on turbines. You are keeping control of the process and shaping its outcome. Let me repeat, you're keeping the control of the process and shaping its outcome.
Please, refrain from interrupting. Thank you.
Councillors, I understand the weight of this decision, and I understand the pressure you face. But leadership means making choices based on today's facts, today's context, and today's opportunities, not yesterday's assumptions. This isn't about undoing the past, it's about ensuring our municipality has a voice on what happens next. Supporting this resolution does not approve the project, it simply ensures that our community stays in control, that your concerns are heard, and that you protect your right to guide the future. I urge you to make this decision thoroughly and with the benefit of the full picture in front of you. As I've said before, we fully support the statements in the Ontario Municipal Energy Procurement Kit that was mentioned. Our concern is that council is now being asked to change bylaws for the specific purpose of preventing this project from moving forward. It becomes problematic when such changes are driven not by technical or scientific rationale, but by emotional arguments aimed at achieving a very narrow outcome. This undermines the integrity of the planning process, sets a difficult precedent for any proposal, and creates uncertainty for anyone trying to engage with the municipality in good faith. In closing, I want to ask you to give this request a fair consideration so that Southwest Oxford has
Time's up. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Questions or comments from council? Councillor Pickard. Councillor Pickard.
Thanks for your comments on it. I did some checking, and I looked at the July 2024 council minutes. It says you said at that meeting, 200 megawatt. So I think.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I think when they did the petition, they looked at those comments from 2024, so just a point of clarification.
In July 2024, we brought, but in July 2024, we brought forward to this meeting, this council, our vision for Oxford County. We did not state, and I looked through the notes again, and please do the same thing. I'm not opposing what you're saying. We did not state that we wanted 200 megawatts or 30 plus turbines in Southwest Oxford. The second part is that and I have to refer to the ISTAT picture of what the survey said. It stated that ProWind has already made a bid for 30 to 6 megawatts. That is just another correct statement.
I think my point was that the 200 megawatt was discussed at the meeting on July of 2024. The interpretation is what's different. So I'm not sure we can go around saying that was inaccurate information. So we're headed to it.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. We were talking about Oxford County. We had approached four municipalities. And yes, there were larger turbine sizes and larger project sizes discussed. However, it is true that over the last 18 months, we have made it very clear that we're talking about a 6 turbine project.
Not to prolong the argument, you do change your position. Can I ask one more question? You suggested we made our decision to be an unwilling host based on inaccurate and incomplete information. I don't agree. We have a lot of information available to us. In fact, we have a report that our acting CEO had done dated July 3rd, 2025. And it was very fair. It was a very fair report. In fact, they recommended that we not be an unwilling host. And council did not like the recommendation of staff, so I think our staff have been very fair. In fact, the report we're gonna see today, 19, it's very balanced as well, and I think very fair. I made the motion to become an unwilling host on June 17th. And I don't think I made it on the basis of incomplete or inaccurate information. I made it on the basis that I had been contacted by an outstanding vast number of community players, residents, taxpayers that did not want the turbines in Valriel or in Oxford County. I guess it's southwest Oxford at that time. So I hadn't even seen the survey at that point. I attended that meeting virtually, so I never saw the survey until last Friday, to be truthful. So I'd never seen the wording until last Friday. So I don't think when I made that motion, I was uninformed. Based on the majority that contacted me and said, we don't want this. So thank you for the comments.
Any other questions or comments? Councilor Butcher, please.
Just one comment, you're, saying there was 30 plus turbines, actually, at that July meeting, we were, dealing with two proposals, one from, Wind Power Developments and your, proposal. And between the two of them, there would have been over 30 in, Southwest Oxford. So I think that's where the 30 comment keeps coming from. And, the other company has, stepped down and not, is not persuaded. So yeah, you're right, it's 6, but I wanted to talk about that.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, thank you for your delegation. We'll now move right into report, CEO 19, Julie, please. Go there.
Thank you, Mayor. You all hear me okay? Yeah, okay. Thank you, Mayor Mayberry. The purpose of this report is to provide council with information regarding the formal request for municipal support confirmation submitted by ProWin Inc. for the proposed power building project. Until this request was received in mid-August, council had not been asked to consider a formal resolution of support, and the complete details of this request were not known. Staff shared the application process established within Oxford County with ProWin for renewable energy projects, and they have been working through that process. A resolution of support could not have been requested by ProWin until the LT2 procurement window opened at the end of June. Staff would like to clarify that the actual scope and scale of this particular proposal consists of 6 wind turbines, total generating capacity of 36 megawatts. As outlined in their application, and as we offer today, and in response to the public feedback, ProWin has adjusted the siting of 2 proposed turbines. Turbine 1 has been moved further from Beachville, and turbine 6 has been moved further from Seward. I want to emphasize that request for municipal support and approval of that request does not constitute approval of the project, nor does it guarantee that a contract will be awarded by the IESO. If a contract were awarded, the proponent would still be required to obtain additional provincial and municipal approvals, including planning approvals for the township. This process would provide the township with the opportunity to establish conditions around siting of the project. As part of their application, ProWin has also proposed a community benefit fund, which would include financial contributions to the township, countywide initiatives, and a neighborhood support fund for non-participating residents, with priority given to residents abutting the development. My understanding is should the project proceed, the terms of this agreement would be subject to the negotiation between the township and ProWin. From a staff perspective, there is still information outstanding, particularly with respect to the agricultural impact assessment. Only phase 1 has been completed to date, and this document requires further information review and approval by county planning staff. Additional health, noise, and environmental studies would follow only if the contract were awarded. Given the need for more information and in combination with the feedback received from the community staff, are not recommending support at this time. At this stage, staff is seeking council's direction on whether it wishes to reaffirm its June 17th resolution declaring the township an unwilling host, or whether it wishes to reconsider that resolution in order to further review and consider the updated information and proposed project adjustments presented by the proponent. With that, I'll be happy to try to answer any questions that council may have.
Not working at all. Sorry, you really don't have to hear your share. Any questions or comments from council? On the report? Seeing none. I would suggest to the council that we might want to break the report into two pieces, or the recommendations in the report into two pieces. So the first would be that we receive this information, the report, and then the second would be to provide direction to staff. Would that be agreeable to council? It comes as two separate items. We have a mover to receive this information. Moved by Way, second by Gillis. Any discussion on receiving this information? So Jim, do you put your hand up? I can't always see it because of this qualification. Any discussion on that? All those in favor of receiving this information? Opposed, that's carried. Second is to provide direction to staff and claim a motion. Councilor Way.
My motion is to reaffirm the existing resolution of June 17th, 2025, declaring the township an unwilling host.
So Councilor Way, the actual request in front of us is for municipal support confirmation. So I'm wondering if the motion could actually be linked to that. I'm not opposed to the unwilling host comment. I'm just thinking that that's a request in front of us.
I was just reading what the report said. That's what Chair reaffirming this resolution. That was the question that was asked. That's how I answered it.
Okay, fair enough. That does not then, does not give a definitive answer on, because we've already been this point. And hence we had delegations today, does not give a definitive answer on municipal support resolution, which is fine. I'm not gonna let it die, but that's. So the motion stands then. Did you second it? Did someone second the motion? Yeah. Councilor Gillis, that we reaffirm its existing resolution of June 17th, declaring the township an unwilling host. Okay. Any discussion? Councilor Pickard.
My concern now is we haven't dealt with the missile support resolution. Are we going to approve it, decline it? And I'd like to understand what you're suggesting.
Well, first of all, I'm suggesting that we maintain our decision on June 17th. Maybe we need to have another meeting to discuss how we're no, not. We need to discuss this as council as to what we want in a municipal resolution. Mayor, I don't know.
Not supporting consent for one for.
Go ahead, Councilor Pickard.
I'd like to. Maybe we could amend the motion to include refusal of license.
Would the mover agree to that?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
So would you provide would the motion be that we reaffirm the existing resolution of June 17th, 2025, declaring the township an unwilling host and deny municipal support confirmation? I'm trying to wordsmith it, but go ahead.
And council does not support the willing host request.
Question in front of us has to do, sorry, Councilor, go ahead, please. Yes, a second.
The second part of that, direction from staff, the first part was being unwilling, what was the second part? Is reconsider the resolution. Who engaged with the proponent, consider the request for municipal support confirmation. I guess I could support that as well.
So, excuse me, I think that's an either or there, so, Julie, please.
Just so I understand correctly, I think what your intention is, you want to reaffirm the township's position as an unwilling host and add to that resolution that council will deny the request for municipal support to use my phone instead.
Yes.
Yes.
So. Take the clerk, did you get that? Okay. So, the motion in front of the council on it is to reaffirm the existing resolution of June 17, 2025, declaring the township of Mount Lion Forest and. Go ahead, please.
So the motion reads, resolve that council provide direction to staff to reaffirm its existing resolution of June 17, 2025, declaring the township an unwilling host, and that council deny the request for municipal support confirmation from ProWind.
Councilor Wade, is that the motion?
Yes, sounds good to me.
Okay, and Councilor Gillis, is he seconding that motion? Yeah. Okay, so we have a proper motion in front of us, open for discussion, any comments? Councilor Wade, please.
Before we make a vote, I'd like to ask for a recorded vote.
Okay. Any other questions? Sorry.
I have, very big conflict here. I do not, I cannot say that, turbines are the best way to move forward, especially the horizontal ones. There's more and more better, methods that are coming forward every day. I know there's, in England, there's, vertical turbines that they've put beside the highways, so the motion of the vehicles creates energy. I think at this time, it's, I agree with the motion.
Any other? Councilor Gillis, please.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, I just want to reiterate that, I appreciate, everyone in this room, despite their stance on anything, I respect you all. Despite the outcome, of this meeting, I think that, I've gone above and beyond to try and understand this issue to the best of my ability to make a decision. So thank you, everybody. Right on.
Any other comments? Councilor Pickard, please.
I spent a lot of time researching this, so I'll tell you, there's a lot of material out there on wind turbines. I'm on the internet, my God. There's pros, there's cons, there's people for it, there's people against it, it's a complex issue. I'm gonna stick with, supporting the community. I don't think I have any choice, I'm an official, well, I have a choice, but I'm gonna support the community and people spoke to me and that's to me. Deny the request, and that's what I'm gonna throw my support with.
Any other comments? Councilor Jefferson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As I've said before in our meetings, our presentations, that I've listened. I have listened to each side. In tender.
And I hear you.
I've listened. I've listened. And I also go with the decision that has been made today. And I'm waiting.
Having trouble finding something in the minutes, so. Looking for the actual notes. Okay. Thank you, Lucas. All right, so, I want to be clear here. want to be clear, is the motion says that they're going to, reaffirm the motion of June 17th. And I want the public and the proponent to hear the same thing. And the motion says, therefore be resolved, and I'll skip the preamble, that's all right. Therefore be resolved, the Council of Southwest Oxford declares itself an unwilling host for industrial wind turbines under the current provincial procurement framework. And that the township will not provide municipal support resolution for any such projects until the procurement process is revised to ensure a full agricultural health and environmental impact assessments are completed. I'm sorry, I'm quiet. I'm reading from the minutes. This is what the motion was. Council passed the motion, and I'm not being critical at all. I'm just saying that this is what the motion says, and I want to be clear that the township will not provide this support resolution for any projects until the procurement process is revised to ensure full agricultural health and environmental impact assessments are completed prior to municipal endorsement. 1. 2, municipalities are provided with adequate data, timelines, and consultation resources to make informed decisions. And 3, local autonomy and planning authority are meaningfully respected in energy project approved. So that's passed. I completely understand it, and I have a question for council, and the reason is because one could read this, and I want to make sure that the public and the proponent understand the same thing. One could read this as saying that the township will not provide municipal support resolutions for any projects until the procurement process is revised to ensure. So, and I want clarification from council, because it says until you do a full agricultural health and environmental impact. Does that mean that council would provide municipal support resolution after that, if that came forward? Or does it mean that the process by the province has to change to include that? That's, and I wasn't the mover of the second of the motion, so I'm just looking, because I think in fairness to the proponent, if they came forward with full agricultural health and environmental impact assessments, they could argue that the motion says, well, until they've done that. I'm not sure that that's the intent of council, so I just want to know what the intent of council is for the public.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yes, we're talking about the process.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I wanted was clarification. You made the motion, and you seconded it. Councilor Gillis, you seconded it, did you?
Yeah, they were told.
Oh, sorry. Paul. So was that your intention as well? That the process needs to change, not just because it would be unfair to send proponents back to say, oh, okay, if we do this, then we make the other kind of agreement. And I don't want to do that, nor do I want the public to think that if they do that, they get a green light. I think there needs to be a clarity here for everybody.
Clarity is to have a new meeting that's just put in today. That's what you're voting.
Excuse me, no interruptions. The motion is, and you seconded it, so I want to make sure that we're talking about process and not actually about the practice of the proponent bringing forward health, agricultural, and environmental full impact assessment. Is that your understanding of the motion? Did you second it?
That's my understanding.
Okay.
The intent was that, we didn't rule out any other type of, energy, being considered.
Okay, I got that. I wanted to make sure that it's the process or the practice that we needed to be, because I don't want any kind of false sense of, we could do this or we can't do this for either the public or the proponent. It needs to be very clear. And because this is an emotional issue, you want to make sure that everybody is on the same page. And from Councillor Pickard, I get it very clear, it is a process. From you, I get a process. If the rest of the council agrees it's the process, that's fine with me. I'm not gonna fight it. I just want to make sure we're doing the right thing at the right time. So we're agreeing that it is the process and not the practice here. That you actually just can't go do it and then come back and say, hey, you did what you want. So because that's fair to the proponent to say, don't waste your time. doing an agricultural or a health or an environmental impact assessment. Okay, that's your understanding, Councillor Gillis, Councillor Wade? Okay, so we understand that part. Thank you very much. We're back to the motion then. And the motion would be, you want to read it again? Penny?
The council provide direction to staff to reaffirm its existing resolution of June 17, 2025, declaring the township an unwilling host, and the council deny the request for municipal support confirmation from Crowley.
Okay, any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, okay. So, one final comment before I go, and then I would, go to the recorded vote. I am not convinced that this is the appropriate motion, but I am convinced that the motion of June 17th was a fully moved, seconded, and approved by council motion. And I have never, nor will I ever, attempt to disrespect or disregard any motion made by the majority of council. I have way too much respect for the will of council. Having said that, as much as I would like to vote against the motion, I do not think in any kind of good faith or any other way that I could do that. I checked with be quiet, I checked with the CAO and the clerk. They both tell me that I could vote to abstain, but that it would show up as an abstention, which is what I'd like to do, but in fact, in reality, that is considered a no vote. And if the votes were counted, it would be considered a no. So before we vote, I just want to know, I'm uncomfortable with this, but I don't think I have any choice because of the will of council from the previous meeting. So having said that, the clerk, you will call the vote, please.
We'll start with Councillor Buckner,
Yes.
Councillor Gersten.
Yeah.
Councillor Wade,
Yes.
Councillor Pickard,
Yes.
Councillor Gillis,
Yes.
Mayor Mayberry.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. I think that deals with that issue. Now we got to get back to the agenda. Just give me half a second. Oh, clerk would like, or the CAO would like a quick break. Have a great day, everyone. Come on up to the table, Joyce, you're next.
Thank you.
And the next item is the SPH Engineering Inc. Come on up to the table. Thank you. For this presentation. And did anybody show up in the number? Okay, so, I guess Rebecca is online. Okay, so we have Rebecca Smith from the county online to help us with any of the issues around the daycare from a county perspective to their concerns. If you don't mind, Rebecca, go ahead, please.
Morning, Mr. Mayor and Council. I brought along with me the architect that we engaged as per our last meeting, the direction that was provided at that time, that the architect reviewed. So I'd like to introduce you Robert Ritz from Robert Ritz Architecture Stratford. And Robert's going to walk through the revisions that we've made since the last review of the drawing package and reducing it to 2 stories from 3 stories when we previously reviewed. I'll turn it over to Robert now to speak to those changes in more detail.
Thanks. Good morning, everybody. Can we go back one slide to the site plan? Not a problem. Okay, maybe the site plan is in there. Oh, there it is. Yeah, okay, I'm starting at the site plan. And maybe rotate it clockwise if that's possible. So it's the same orientation as the floor plans when we get inside the building. So you can scroll it up. Good. So on the sort of 2 principal entrances into this building. On the left side is the prime entrance into the daycare. And on the right side is the entrance into the library and to the upper floor, which is administration office for the municipality. Parking is at each side, as you can see, there's a drop-off zone on the left-hand side for dropping off the kids at daycare, plus parking for staff or people that are parking and taking their kids in. There could be some refinements to that parking lot, so we don't have dead-end parking. We do at this time, but that could be resolved easy enough. And that's something we could get into a little bit more in detail. I can see sidewalks leading right into daycare. We come up the daycare, walk on the left-hand side. The play areas are on each side, sort of wrapping that end of the building at the top or bottom of the page. At the other end, right side, I'm in that in the parking lot. Can't do much about that because of our proximity to the corner. Can't really discharge on development. Prime entrance is in the lower right corner, and that leads us, and then on the bottom is staff area, that sort of hatched area. So that's sort of the site plan. So we'll go into the building now, and that would be the top slide that you had. The first story. Yeah, rotate it again. So on that slide, you see the entrance doors at the bottom right. They lead into a lobby. From that lobby, there's a door at the top of the lobby that leads into the library. The washrooms just outside the lobby. And then to the right of the door to the library is the elevator to the upper floor. And then you can also see how the stairs work to get to the upper floors. When we're in the library, there's a large open area when you first come into the space. Then we have stairs down to more book area and stairs up as well. It's a high space. It could show up best in a section. The blocks on the outside around the entrance, it's a covered entrance. So, you know, you always have sort of those little chit chats after the meeting or before the meeting, before you go in, and also wait for a ride or whatever when it's raining. Up top, you see a radius line, and then that is the outline of the council chambers upstairs, and the circles are the home supporting structure. The door on the top is just an exit only door from the library. These are the number of people. Next floor. Oh, sorry. We also have utility and storage. So yeah, where the cursor is right now, that's utility and storage for whatever sort of an undefined portion of the program. There's no elevator connection to it. Access only by stairs. It's I believe we go down to that space. Yes. Okay, next slide. This is the daycare level, and it's the upper portion of the library. So right where the right corner is rectangle is the upper portion of the library. And you can see a mezzanine portion just to the left that the stairs lead to from the library. That would be at the same floor level as the daycare, which is at grade at the rear. Covered entrance at the rear, so we're going to go right to the left hand side. We're going to come in the front doors, but on each side there's a covered area where part of the play area, some shelter before and after if it's raining, whatever. Coming in, we have sort of the services of the daycare at the top left corner kitchen. And then we have the activity rooms, and they wrap around 5 of them. And we put the cubbies in the corridor just for maintenance and cleaning and boots and the wetness and all of that comes with it. And then each room has adequate washrooms and storage for cots. One I noticed has the cubbies in it. Yeah, it's the one. It's the rivet running along the outside walls, you can see there. And then there's, you know, miscellaneous electrical room, storage, items like that. And then accessible washroom and laundry are off of the off that end, right where the cursor is, you know, those are controlling around there. Access back to the street to the side yard. Again, more exit only than primary access, which would be through the doors on the left-hand side. So fairly functional. Well, actually, I think really functional. But your daycare person is going to tell me that. And it's just based on other daycares we did. So let's go to the next floor, which is administration. Actually, a bit. So what we have there is we come primarily we see people riding by the elevator, or which is sort of that box on the right hand side right there, or the stairs. And both doors lead right towards your reception area. So there's no confusion where you're going. You open the door and boom, you know where you're going. You're not wandering down the hall or around the corner. We have an area. Sort of a triangle shaped space off of the radial council chambers, and that is over potential overflow. Because we have a movable wall between it and the council chambers. That wall on an angle is a movable wall, and then we were also thinking that that movable wall could continue and run sort of towards the outside wall if we want greater viewing, like we have an overload, but I could never handle the crowd we had here. They have more contentious issues, and there's more public ideas, you can expand your, seating area for the, council chambers. Once we, so that's for the council chambers, you can see we made it a radial type plan, exterior wall, just to sort of illustrate the wrap and the comfort, and it's a different space, it's to make it a more of a special space, which is what it is. We also put in a, skylight, right over where the presenter is, in that, plan. I want to zoom in a bit more up there into that corner. We have, chair storage or add chairs for that, AV room, storage for the, movable wall just above the AV room. Clerk's office, which is first story, basically. Next door is the mayor's office. With a private washroom, which then across the hallway above their office is for staff of the, sort of the executive portion of the, administration side. And then on the other side at the bottom, we have, we have a meeting room, the last wall, there to break up the line for the building. And that's for internal meetings or planners, or people come in to have those one-on-one discussions with your engineering, planning, building staff. In the middle is a vault. And then offices around the perimeter. Have a lunchroom on the top left for staff. Through the street, sunshine, and then just office running down the bottom of the page or along the east side of the building. And then the front area brings us right back to the front door. So if somebody comes to reception calls somebody to come through that door, like the stairs to greet the people, and then either take them back. And then, loads of cons in the layout. Generally, I like to have that view room closer to the front door, so they're not walking through the entire space and overlooking everybody's shoulder and seeing what else is going on. The plan should maybe be revised that we have that meeting room sort of in those first two offices versus back in the other corner. And that's just a thought. Again, there's a refinement required between the staff and ourselves on this. I'm sure it works for everybody, and we don't have anybody complaining of, why did they do it that way? Well, I like to avoid that. Now, part of this, we had a note last week, should, about another story on for expanded administration. And our thoughts on that are there's a little bit of work to do to do that, because you could probably scaffolding the perimeter of this building to do that work, which means the daycare outside play areas can function during those times. We also have to increase the height of the elevator. Again, you lose accessibility during time with the elevator. And then also with if there's any rooftop units, but my thought is to go all electric, use heat pumps with the propane backup. So minimum on the rooftop, but again, if there were rooftop units, they have to be removed, which means it was your HVAC during that time, but I think with the heat pump, you avoid that. Also, if we go to the third floor, it's an assembly occupancy, and a 3-story assembly building requires a sprinkler system. 2-story assembly buildings don't. So we have that cost, and that would be an upfront cost along with larger footings, walls a little bit more reinforcement in them to support the third floor. The roof system now, it's going to be 3 stories, will be precast concrete panels, course slab for treating, with roofing on top of that, so that can be used as a floor moving pad on top. It's a little bit more money than an aluminum steel joist roof system, which is what the original, or with it this size, you can still do some of this with frame, which makes it more economical. Now, the other side of it is post-disaster facility. Meaning that affects cost, and that has to be structurally, upgraded, and, roof may not be wood, but like it was steel in that case. But that's, when we get there, we can look at those numbers. The, exterior, we're sort of putting up on the colors that, styles that we had originally. There's still refinement required on the exterior, on how to do it, how to make it work, and make it work. But I think that feature of the radius and in the 3D really, comes off as, you know, it's a building we would be proud of. And it's, you know, it's becoming sort of the iconic symbol of Southwest Oxford. And that's what we want to be, is a facility that you say outside of town hall and people can be proud of it. And it's famous. So I think it's a 3D too. That's the, there you go. I gives you a little bit more, what it would be like. And that set of windows there in that, in the middle, that's sort of that, being ones on the top or in the lower right is the sort of what you see from the parking lot as you're going to council chambers. So it makes it an interesting structure versus just a square rectangular box. And so we find efficiencies in other areas because to do the radius side, it's a little bit more money, but I try to find savings elsewhere, you don't see it. And that's sort of the economy in the development of the design. And Courtney will talk more about how to submit this for the next steps. There's different ways of doing that to get cost efficiencies. That's my portion. Any questions or to do that through the chair, Mr. Mayor?
No worries. So I guess that's the place to start. If Merrick has a few questions for this.
That's fine.
And I would say, is Rebecca online?
Yes, no, there.
Okay, so Rebecca, in just a second, I'll ask you if you have any questions, but Councilor Frederick, please.
So how many offices are there? I'm trying to think of how many staff we have, how many staff we're gonna have. In 10 years, so how many of the offices are there? Obviously, there must be some stairs for growth and.
So currently, there's offices, fully private offices for 19 staff, and an additional 10 semi-private or cubicle style offices available in the central atrium area for clerical staff or other staff that maybe don't necessarily need the privatized office. And then additionally, we also have the mayor's office separate from that, so that's an additional 20 total offices that are private.
That didn't really answer your question. Because we were working on a program, and so we just followed the program. I think the program and staff can clarify this, because I believe there were spare offices. That was one of my first questions. How much growth do we have in this current layout?
Go ahead, Jim. Sorry.
Based on our initial review, yes, we think those several spare offices at this point with room to grow in the future. And when we are looking at it, we're thinking, 50 years into the future, we're going to go ahead with the build.
I didn't really get it, so how do we actually?
I think this works out to be about 4 spare offices and then 6 additional. 6 or 7 additional cubicle spaces.
Customer, if I can interrupt.
Go ahead.
Part of my presentation, I talked about the third story idea. But there's an alternate to the third story idea when you mentioned 50 years. And that is that in time, you'll probably have your daycare outgrowing itself and it'll have to be expanded as well. So our suggestion is to move the administration additional office space into the daycare and find another site to build a daycare that is larger and can accommodate the parking, because along with the foundations and the sprinkler system, et cetera, you also have to expand the parking if you have added staff. So the idea of just repurposing the daycare into administration offices, and then in 30 or 40 years, build a larger daycare elsewhere. It is relatively efficient because the walls in that daycare can be reused, moved, whatever, for the additional office space.
And Councilor Hill, you're next.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a number of comments or questions about the plan. First off, the original concept was for 3 floors, now we're looking at 2. Do you have any kind of a cost estimate here?
So as part of this layout, the square footage has remained relatively the same. Its footprint's actually growing slightly to accommodate putting the library on the lower floor and the council chambers on the upper floor. All of those items are on the 3rd floor in the previous iteration. So based on Robert and I discussed, as well as internally in my office, we were running around $400 to $500 per square foot. Previously, we were running at a $450 per square foot estimate. So that gives us the range for this current layout of 10.9 to 13.6 million is a conservative estimate for budget costs.
So then no real savings for this plan over the previous one of 3 floors.
No, based on the required amenities that were requested to fit into the floor plan and number of offices, number of daycare spaces, area required for the library, which we're currently showing at 2,800 square feet. The footprint had to grow to achieve all of those items that were requested.
When I was looking over the report at home, I kind of wondered if that was going to be the end conclusion of it, because recognize you have to make it bigger if you're not going to go higher. I would agree with you that the meeting room that you have proposed on the 2nd floor should be moved closer toward the reception area to avoid having traffic through the work area of the space. I would suggest that Mayor could probably make you beautiful rather than a very big office. I think our future CEO is probably eyeing that office very well.
We just show them you can hear it goes in them. But again, I wanna, we continue with you. I want my next step would be to meet with staff and sort of hammer out what the true needs are.
One of the committees that I serve on, one of the members of that committee is a trained early childhood educator. Currently sits on the board of the daycare in Tillsonburg. She contacted me a number of months ago when the first drawings came out. And she said, do you realize that some of the square footage that they're talking about in these drawings doesn't make a whole lot of sense? And the reason I'm mentioning that is because according to this source, preschool children to caregiver ratios are 8:1. And toddlers to helpers is a 5:1 ratio. And so when you're looking at the rooms, I believe you had, my iPad commented on me, but I believe you had daycare spaces for 22 children per room. But in actuality, given provincial legislation, we would have to go with either 16 or 24. So the room sizing doesn't necessarily work with provincial regulations. The other thing I would point out is that you have infant care in there as well. But current maternity leaves are either 12 or 18 months, depending on the choice of the families involved. And there's oftentimes also paternity leave that's been made available to folks as well. My own kid is taking advantage of that. And so I'm wondering if it's necessary to have infant care in this facility at all.
That would be a result of a conversation with our team and people that are involved with the daycare. Yeah, we've done a couple of daycares and you did get the magic numbers. It's 24 because it's just efficiency for staff. I believe you can have 22, but there's an inefficiency in that they could have 2 more kids with the number of staff that are in that space. So that's a back and forth. The other thing is there's room for the flex here. Because what you do is you downsize some rooms to boost the size in other rooms to get the math to work correctly in each room. The real thing that's prime drive of the area is the amount of glass that is required for each child in those rooms, so that is one that we definitely are all over. So, yes, like I said, it needs fine tuning. This is sort of a spin-off of what we had before. We just took the drawings of the first one and relaid it out in a two-story plan. My team refined some, and we did some modifications to the daycare with respect to circulation. Size is a flex that we can work with, the people that are responsible for that space.
Other comments, questions? Cool, sorry, Councilor Gillis, go ahead.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, just asking the group over there, see with the overhang back, having the offices and whatnot above it, basically a cantilevered floor joist kind of system, kind of like that old school thing. But, for heating and cooling, is that still very efficient, or, has the technology come a long way from, my, youth days?
Like, now that we do have a cold floor, it isn't cantilever, there's a column line, which means it's just post and beam and core slab that extend out over that. You insulate the other side of the core slab, but, it will feel cooler if you're in bare feet. I don't think that many people would be in bare feet up there. So your air system should be able to manage it. Not to belittle it, I'm very much into insulating the structure, almost over insulating it, because you can't add more insulation in the future as fuel prices go up. And that's why I'm also encouraging your team to look at kind of heat pumps with, propane backup. So, yes, it will be addressed, but from one floor to the other, you can't imagine unless we have a heating source below that suspended slab, it'll feel cooler because it's just the way it is.
Go ahead, Councilor Gillis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Would geothermal be an option for this building and have indoor heat?
If your team, permits it in your township, I'm all over geothermal. Definitely, that to me is like your prime source then for the heat pump instead of air to air. You do, ground air system. And you can put in Florida in those areas, the insulation's already there for it. It would require a topping to place the pipes. But we're putting the topping on, the other thing is for that section of the horse slab, if there's a running 10-inch deep, drop it to 8-inch. The topping for a floor in that zone only versus the whole thing. But again, that's, something we can direct the mechanical engineers to decide, but that's the best solution for a suspended slab over a cold space.
Any other questions? So I got a couple of times you mentioned, Rob, about the propane, backup. Why wouldn't it be natural gas?
If we're not using natural gas for anything else in the building, you're paying that monthly administration fee whether you're using it or not.
Okay.
Propane is one of those fuels where it doesn't age like diesel or gasoline, and that's why it's just able propane generator or backup. Because you can do a propane generator for your building, and then that generator could then support, electric, heating backup.
Okay, good. No, I hadn't thought about that. The fact that you would always, you never use propane. Bingo. Okay, the other question I had was around the childcare in the window space, which was, one of the reasons why we don't have any other facilities in the township that we own that could actually be used for childcare. We just don't, we don't have window space in any of the other buildings, so, and comment already made, I'd actually, mayor's office, but before I got to that, I'm pretty sure that the CAO would have it, and rightfully so. I did wonder about the potential, and I don't work in an office, so, understanding that, rather than 19 offices, would we be better off to have 15 offices that were a little bigger? The other one I wondered about was, plans examination room for the CBO. And I don't know if it's in here. If it is, I missed it, so I apologize.
like I said, I was just working, we were just working off the previous plans. And part of this meeting with staff is to do that sort of thing, because I obviously I deal with CEOs and any municipalities. Then the comment on the mayor's office, maybe the next mayor might want it.
But too bad.
The other comment though on the meeting room, going back to a couple councilors' points, and I brought it up, is the two big rooms across from the mayor's office don't have windows. That might be a desirable location because it's right outside of council chambers, but it's also quite close to the entry there. And if you just had a wall in front of the cubicles, you're basically going into those offices, and you can actually have a door across the hall from the AV room. So no, you're not getting too far into the building at all. And you can actually secure the corridor then to the mayor's office. So if there's any issues, you can really lock them in.
I'd actually prefer a meeting room without windows, and the reason, no, quite seriously, because I think, some meetings require a degree of privacy that, whether it be with staff or whether it be with, private individual, or proponent or something, where you really don't want to be, subject to, you know, eyes and ears. Okay, further questions? Councilor Gideon, please.
One thing that did crop up when I was going over the plans at home, I wondered about the exterior finishes. I noticed there's about 3 or 4 different styles of finishes to there. And my fear was that it's gonna become a bit of a patchwork quilt. And I just wondered if you given any thought to that at all?
Well, when we put these together, we put them together sort of based on the original concept of a 3-story. And as I said at the beginning of my presentation is, we're gonna look at the exterior facade in a little bit more detail to avoid the patchwork quilt comment. I'm with you, it has to look right, and right now it's closed, but it needs further refinement. The other thing that has to be addressed is interior finishes, flooring, ceilings, wall coverings, and whether interior designer comes on board to select colors and finishes, or is that gonna be a staff with us sort of thing, because we do it as well, providing have some staff input. Again, it's your building, and you can do it best, I want to manage up the side of it.
Go ahead.
I'll be done after this, I promise. The one thing that I've always noticed on any project I've ever been a part of is that the thing that comes up short always is storage space, always. And so I'm wondering, on the very lower level, there is a portion of that that's excavated for the municipal entry and the library entry. Would it be possible to extend the excavation there in order to provide more storage space should it be required?
Yeah. We have a fairly large storage space down there now. And you're absolutely right, we can just keep going. You know, it's cost, right? And you know, the more we go and also more storage one has, the more storage they use. So you have that hold back a little bit, but the only concern I had with that is access by stair only. Because we don't have the elevator going to that level. And if you decide that you want to use the daycare for your growth, then we would be modifying the plan to relocate the elevator where it has access to the daycare side of the building, or that there is a way to do it in the future. So that's sort of a call we need to know if you want to go up or if you want to go within and put the daycare and its related parking and everything else elsewhere.
Good. Any other questions? So, the one thing you just mentioned, at one point I was sitting on a committee and they presented a new building or a refreshed building, and I remember saying to them, so the building that I work now, that's like 2.0, right? It didn't really improve. And to a certain extent, I think, as you indicated, the building does have to look like, it represents the pride of the community. And that doesn't mean that it needs to be gold plated or anything like that, but it does, you know, some buildings just look great when you look at them, and other buildings, you just sort of wonder who's designing it, right? Like, is it just plain ugly? And, so I think as much as I've got into a whole lot of looking beautiful, as you can well tell, I do think that, we do want to be cognizant of the fact that the building should look the part that it needs to play. And for a library and for childcare particularly, and also to a certain extent for council meetings, it needs to be inviting. It needs to be a warm, a place where people feel like I belong there, or that's mine. And so, I don't actually mind spending an extra dollar on the, upheaval of the building, if it helps. The other thing you mentioned was about the interiors. Did you guys do, Zora building?
Yes, so SPH was part of the design of the Laura building. There's a separate architect involved. That one was not Robert's firm, but we did do.
Okay, so that building inside is about as plain, I would say, as it could get, right? Like it was just white walls everywhere. And, I actually don't mind it, because in my mind, over time, I have found that paint and wallpaper apparently appear even when I didn't know they were coming. And that, you know, if you have a white wall and a staff person wants to, beef it up with some pictures or whatever, I'm good with that. I don't care, but, I'm particularly for the administration, I wouldn't say this for the childcare of the library, but for particularly for the administration, I'd be far more interested in hearing what staff have to say about what they want. If I ask council today, then council chambers, as of now, probably 75 times in this term, what's the paint color inside the council chambers? Half of us couldn't tell you. I have no idea what color it is. And so I think it's kind of a bluey green. Yeah, but if I had to sign my life to it, I wouldn't have written that down for sure. I just don't know. But anyways, it's one of those things where, I'm open to a lot more flexibility on the interior. And quite frankly, I didn't mind the Zora, even though it looks very white and plain and all that. I don't mind it at all. I think a few accent pictures and that, make it look pretty terrific. But again, I would turn it over, that part, but would turn over to staff as well. Go ahead. Bert.
We were involved in the refurbishing of St. Mary's council chambers and that floor of the building. And their color was blue because it was the corporate color of the town. We were also involved in the new administration wing, which is a repurpose of the registry office at for the county in Stratford. And we built a link between the two. And part of, you know, they say architects have a style. And my style tends to be natural light, so that you can walk through the building without turning the light on. And that and that the case, it complemented the existing structures that were already there. Here it's all brand new. But then what you do is, back in the day, it was form follows function, and thus the radial part of your council chambers in this development, which is also what Toronto City Hall is, because it's under the middle of their city hall. And it's to identify certain things like the curtain wall where we got the meeting room. There's a classroom below. We put that there just to break up the length of that wall back to the patchwork quilt. Eliminating it starts to, we'll have to find other ways of breaking up the length of that facade, if that isn't for, you know, the principal meeting room. And the meeting room inside. The other thing is you could skylight some of this upper floor space. So you don't have to worry, reduce the amount of natural light or artificial light by using photocell actually sense when the interior lights are on or not on. The skylights, everybody feared them all. They've come a long way since the 60s. And I'm fairly confident with the skylights we go into our buildings. So, and it's a nice way to walk in a room and put on a light and just work with it. The blackout and any full blackout at times you have to be able to address that. So anyways, just further comments. I think we're thinking the same way there, Mr. Mayor, and I think you come up with a good plan for you. And the other thing is the exterior won't change over the next 50 years, but the interiors will probably change twice, if not 3 times. In color.
Obviously, I don't have anything on that, but, all right, Rebecca, are you still there? And did you have any comments? Sorry? Oh, okay, I just, was looking at something, so she brought it right. There's two other quick comments I was gonna make. Should have written them down. Anyways, anybody else? Go ahead, Julie.
I think at this stage, we are just looking for information from the council in terms of the components of the building, so the library space, the daycare, municipal office, confirming that, we're all happy with that. If there are any other, things that stand out to you in terms of the layout or the design, and maybe we can provide those funds to staff. Then we are looking for some direction in terms of next steps, and whether, we can go ahead and work with Corby on working on some of the tender documents to work out some of the details information for potential costs.
Okay, Kirby, did you want to say more? Pretty sure you did.
Yeah, just that, I know what Julie is saying, looking for confirmation on, that we're generally very close to this layout. Again, as Robert mentioned, there's small refinements that can be further made. And that doesn't mean we're locking in, we can continue doing that further along as we get closer to detailed design and onboarding a contractor. The big picture items, the 2 stories, the size, the square footage, that's kind of what we need to zero in on now. And then those other adjustments can come as we move forward. So I think that approval, next steps would be, to bring Robert back in as well and have another staff meeting, make sure all of the staff components are integrated into this further to what we had done initially with the first staff. And then start forming a tender document and getting this out to the street for contractors to be involved and provide updated costing. I know costing is very fluid right now, especially with the economic conditions and tariffs and whatnot. Are they on, are they off? So having a contractor provide real pricing day to day is much more accurate than what we're able to provide with our budget pricing. So that's gonna certainly help your decision making as well. There's a couple different options for what we can do for our tendering. One option is, and Robert and I spoke about this, is having Robert kind of be the prime consultant moving forward and then working through the tendering process with our support as well. And then we can also do a construction management procedure where the contractor comes on board, sits at the table and helps guide the design and provides budget costing, but doesn't award any contracts yet. So they're just at the table for the pre-construction, detailed design phase, if that makes sense. And gives us real cost inputs and design inputs that we refine the design to get to the point where contractors happy, you guys are happy, we're happy on codes being met. And then send it for detailed budgeting and costing at that point to enter the each phase, basically. The Zora model, they did a design build, so the contractor carried the design. So the risk with that is you might not get the design that's been put forward with Robert and myself efforts. They might bring in their own design team, which that's fine, but they might, maybe need to step back in the whole steps already been done to get to this point. Gets concepts out the door, gives them your ideas and wishes, but then they might come in and, we're reinventing the wheel again, where we've already got this much far and down the road at this point. So those are really the 2 options we need to look at. There are certainly some efficiencies and savings, and again, you're not hiring a contractor and running with them all the way through a construction management criteria. You still have those options to have the budgeting and costing come through, and then it's awarded separately once we refine that design further. So I think that's the most flexible and allows kind of an off ramp should something go over. Yeah, go ahead.
So with the design build, the other option, I've done a couple of these where we do the design with the client, and then the design build portion, as I said to Corby earlier, won't like this, is that the contractor retains the structural engineer, the mechanical engineer, and the electrical engineer. We carry on as the architect to ensure you get the building that we discuss and work in great detail with the staff, so you're sure that the end product, one of these towards other design work. The other point I wanted to make is part of that exterior design is a spin-off on your 3-story concept and the suspended floor concept. At the daycare entrance, we could pull that lower wall forward and have a canopy of some type that is just to shelter as you get in to the space versus the entire thing being suspended. It would be lower cost in essence. And we get additional floors to the daycare. We were short a couple in each room, so allows us to expand those rooms. And at the other end, where the entrance was to the library and council chambers, was sort of a spin-off from what we were doing at one end, trying to tie the architecture together. So whatever we do at daycare end could be similar at the other end. So, and I always saw it as a lighter frame. I find that canopy entrance to the council chambers right now heavy, so it's almost overweight. It should be lighter, airy, more inviting. I find it a little clumsy almost. Anyways, those are comments on potential or future refinement to the design. And one last point, Mr. Mayor, I really like how your team works together. I love this back and forth because I think like you're becoming part of the design process, and that's important to have everybody that's elected here involved with the final product.
You might not like it so much if you got to know us better, but, two quick questions. I remember what they were. The first one was on, and I don't expect this of you folks, but, at some point, do some kind of energy mapping as to what is the requirement and, how effective are heat pumps over some other one. And Councillor, Yip mentioned, and geothermal, and it's a great way of doing things. The other one I had was around the outdoor play space. And it came back to me, second, you said, well, we maybe move that wall out and give us more room, because I'm always, probably needing more room. It doesn't matter how big the build a barn or a dry shed or whatever. It's never quite big enough after a couple of years. And so I would lean to that, but I would also say, but do we have the support space, the outdoor support space to match, right? And if I had 4 more kids, but I don't have enough outdoor space for them, I can't put the 4 kids in the building, right? So
It's a back and forth thing. So yes, we make sure everything works. Because it's not, sort of blew my top, right?
well, you just wouldn't get paid. Other questions, other questions or comments from council? Councillor,
There's a couple of comments, and they're looking for feedback on the way forward. I like what I see. I think that, especially the front, portion of the council chambers, it's an awful idea. I've never really considered it. Obviously, I don't do that for a living, so, price tag scares me, really does. And to that end, I would ask whether there can be an emphasis put on Canadian product wherever possible for this bill, should it go ahead. I very much want to see us support our local industries as much as possible.
go ahead, Corby, that's yours.
Yeah, that's certainly one of our wishes as well, is to, use as many Canadian products and Canadian jobs to keep that going strong. So there could be something like it in the tender documents that if at all possible, those are the sources that are exhausted first before looking elsewhere. Some things you just can't source outside of North America or United States. You have to go there or elsewhere. Certain structural columns and sizes for steel members you can only get overseas, but we should make sure that we're emphasizing the design so that it is based on Canadian products and available Canadian resources.
Good. Any other comments? Councillor Gillis, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm generally supportive, kind of surprised, obviously, the costing is pretty much the same for 2-story versus 3-story, but obviously, the other things include, obviously, that, we don't think about, such as sprinklers and other things when you get to a secondary or third level. The only thing that really kind of, that the people have mentioned to me is obviously, and we touched on it earlier, is maybe all the offices that are there. I do appreciate staff and having growth for the future, but I think we have to be serious about like how much is there. That is expensive space. So I think we have to think about that seriously of what is needed. We do know based on our growth surveys, what we're projected to grow within the township in the next 15, 20 years, so we have to kind of tie that in with the township office as well, what actually growth will achieve. So I think that's something that the council should talk with staff to teach.
Any other comments? Seeing none, I think the next question would be for staff. Julie, what do you need from council to get to the next step?
Well, I think we need direction from council to proceed with making some of the refinements. We do need to have a conversation with all staff, this current design too. We'd like to get input from that also, in addition to council. So then once we just support, I guess, direction from staff to move forward with making some of those refinements, and then if you're comfortable with it, moving forward with the grant intended documents to get more detailed pricing information.
Does that sound reasonable to council? Way forward? Okay, you don't need a motion on that. That's, okay, so I think that's direction of staff, but then looking to see if there's any opposed to the idea. I think we're all concerned with the cost. But my experience in life has been there's never been something I bought that was too cheap. So Danny wants to come, go ahead then.
There is a recommended motion that was in the report, just asking council to endorse the drawings as presented. Guessing that those would be changed somewhat, moving forward, but the staff proceed to put the project over the company as well, so that would come from a motion that comes up.
So. Danny, you're gonna have to help me, because I don't have a report.
The report can be found in the staff report, it's not with the.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, maybe, but, nope, I don't have it there either.
Sorry. It would be a motion, sorry, I don't think there is actually a staff report, that's okay, but just the drawings, that would just be looking for a motion to endorse the drawings as presented, where expect to see the video project.
So would the motion be, would the motion be that, council approve the principle with the, kind of the layout and encourage staff to, take the next steps as far as, I'm doing some more, to develop defining the ideas and then, move forward, is that reasonable? And preparing the tender documents, do we want to see the refinement before we prepare tender documents and ask the council, or are we prepared to let staff do the finalization and then go forward? Just, I don't care, I just want to know what the answer is. And staff, Councilor Gillard, Mayor, if I could.
As your architect, as my architect, is, I would like to come back to council after staff refinement. And we more or less, this is what we're gonna do, you should be on board what we're gonna do before we set it up for price.
Okay. Councilor Gillard, you want to say?
Yeah, and further to that, I think, staff have heard the council's comments, and, I think it would be a good idea for, them to have a look at it, for us to have the findings before we can give a final say.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions or comments? Councilor Gillard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm gonna kind of go contrary to Councilor Gillis's comments a few minutes ago in that, we have one chance to build this building and do it right. The last thing I want to see is 5 years from now that we stick portable in the backyard because we didn't do it big enough. Right, so we have one chance to get this right, and a couple of thousand here or there is not gonna make or break the project. And that's probably all an extra office or two is gonna cost, and it's a few thousand one way or another. So, I would encourage, architects, project developers, look at the daycare space and make sure that the numbers right there, whether there's a need for infant care or not. And then also to connect with staff very closely to see what the projections are and to make sure that we do have enough future space built into the project so that we don't need that portable in 5 years' time.
Again, never build a barn or drive shed big enough, so, any other discussion on this? Seeing none, thanks very much, gentlemen, for being here. And, we're turning it over to staff, I believe, you created the motion. You did, okay, so this is directing the staff to continue, they'll come back to us, the next available time, so thanks very much, appreciate it.
And everybody. Mr. Building Official, I'm sure we'll be talking to each other.
Okay, apologize, we're now ready to the Durham Drain folks, so, keepers want to come forward and update us on the notice of the meeting for consider engineers report, so.
And I did have a little slide show there, right there. Great. Thank you, Mayor, and Council. My name is Trevor Kipper. With me here is Tony Kipper. We're with Streamline Engineering based out of Normanton, Ontario. Certainly appreciate the opportunity to be here today. And be providing services to the country of Southwest possibly. So we were appointed in January of this year to provide for new municipal drain, to address stream flooding concerns just to the north of Delmer. From our discussion with the property owners, it was indicated that the roadway, that is Dareham line, and some of the laneways to the north end of Delmer flood during large rainfall events as well as a spring snow melt. This is the primary issue that we were looking at dealing with as part of this project. If you wouldn't mind actually going back to that previous slide. So to give you an idea, if you can see those slides in your screen, the picture on the right, so that was the day that we were first on site. It was in the middle of March. You can see the middle picture there is the roadside ditch. The laneway culvert there, you actually can't see it. It's underwater. And this was well after a rainfall event. So we were outside walking around and there was still water running pretty readily the day that we were out. So we had an initial on-site meeting for the project on March 5th, 2025. So again, that was the day those photos were taken. And following that initial meeting, we did a survey, design, cost estimates, and utility investigations were completed. And we then conducted a follow-up meeting with the involved property owners on July the 23rd to assess the proposed work. So based on those meetings, and yeah, thank you, go to the next slide. Based on those meetings, our final proposed recommendation includes the deepening of about 129 meters of the roadside ditch, installing about 120 meters of 2-foot diameter plastic pipe to replace the existing all the laneway pipes going underneath, for varying sizes and whatnot. So we're upping them all to 2-foot diameter plastic pipes and restoring the laneways as well. And then also installing 18 meters of foot diameter plastic pipe to service the agricultural property there, as well as incorporating about 166 meters of existing infrastructure into the Dare Mine municipal drain. Our total project cost is as follows. We're estimating the total project cost about $153,000. Divided is $53,000 assessed to private lands, $80,000 to municipal lands, and $12,000 to the various utilities that are involved with the project. We're also anticipating about $14,000 no amount for grid for the agricultural properties involved in the project. And that is a very brief summary. I'm happy for you, Commissioner Mayor, to take any questions.
Okay, so any questions from council? Councilor Gilman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The one thing that wasn't really clear to me is at the south end of the drain, where is the outlet? Does it actually cross Durham Line or does it exit into the creek that's on the south end of the village?
It does exit into the creek known as the Ecker Drain, so it continues south and then it crosses Brownsville line. I believe it's Brownsville line, and then it just continues a little further to the creek, closer to the south. That's the main outlet point of this.
Any other questions? One was the assessment for the roads. Brownsville Road is a county road. And I know they would have to pay their share of the cost. So is there an assessment for them? I know it's primarily on our road. But, do they get to pick up somewhere?
Well, for this part of the project, they did not give assess any costs, so where the proposed work is happening is all to the north of where Bretlandsville, line is. So they would get assessed costs for future maintenance work for any part of the drain that they would contribute water towards. But the portion that we're working on, they're not involved with, at least for the work that we're proposing at this time.
So nowhere south of Brownsville Road. Okay, that's fine. Thanks. Other questions? Okay, anyone in the public want to speak to this drain? Since this is the, go ahead, just state your name and where you live.
On the, that line that you're working on. And they're putting in bigger culverts than the one that starts on the edge of our yard. How is that feasible if you're putting a bigger culvert coming up against a smaller culvert?
Go ahead.
Thanks, Selena. So, yeah, I guess you would have been one of the few landlords that we didn't get a chance to connect with through the project, but all the culverts now, so we're upgrading, like I said, everything to 2-foot diameter pipes through the laneway. We're tying into a 2-foot diameter pipe at the end, so all the pipes would be the same size.
On the drawing.
Dennis Kellerman's column is staying the way it is.
You're making ours
Ours
bigger.
is bigger, so that clash with the water drainage on that part.
On your blueprint, you're saying that you're putting bigger culverts than the other, in our driveways. And you're also digging our ditch deeper and it's already deep. My husband's, and for help, he can't lower the ditches if you're making them deeper.
Right. So, yeah, I guess I'll let you really comment on that as in the information meeting that we had back in July, which the landowners would have been involved in. I know the mowing of the roadside ditches was one of the topics that we had discussed. And I guess my only comment on the pipe sizing would be that based on our measurements and our records, everything will be 2-foot diameter, so we have no concern from a capacity standpoint, but maybe we could have a discussion to clarify maybe some of their concerns following this meeting, would be my comment there.
Anyone else want to comment on this drain? Seeing none. Any further comments from council? Council, you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just curious if you would have any estimate as to what it would cost to bury this whole thing rather than dig the ditch deeper if that's becoming a maintenance problem.
Yeah, so essentially we'd be looking at, instead of 129 meters of the roadside ditch deepening, we'd be looking at doing that all with the 2-foot diameter pipe. I wouldn't quite know the per meter cost just right off the top of my head. It definitely would be significantly more expensive. And then I know, speaking with the roads department, costs are certainly concerned. So then it's what we did for this project. We basically tried to match like for like. So if it was roadside ditch now, we were looking at continuing for it to do roadside ditch. The deepening and whatnot, you know, we're only looking at taking the ditch down about a foot or a foot and a half on average, but there'd be certainly some increased costs, and then there'd have to be a decision made on where those costs were to go, whether it would be fair for, you know, if the roads were to take those additional costs, or the residential owners take those additional costs, there'd be some thought that would have more than that, I guess I would say.
The culvert on the end of our driveway that's going past us, where they're not becoming the bird, is 21 inches, not 24.
And we would have to, we got that measured, I believe, is a 24-inch, and I don't know if Adam has any.
Go ahead.
It is a 24-inch. We can verify that.
Our driveway is 21, so we're even with the other one, so our driveway, I don't know why you're digging it up. And then we have cement on either side of our driveway. That's not being replaced.
Right, so the idea would be for that to be tapered out with a grass slope essentially, like. Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Well, sorry,
So the question, for drainage to superintendent, so obviously this is gonna move water faster down towards Brownsville Road. Is the outlet at Eckerd, I believe was mentioned, able to stand this extra flow of water?
Like. Yeah, the sufficient outlet, we actually just did some cleaning in that ditch as well, some tree removal, we were removing undersized culvert that was put in privately, so. Yeah, I'm satisfied with the outlet.
and other questions? Somebody else? What happened, you
Thanks, I just wanted for, council clarification, it is a significant cost to the township, you see our assessments, just 89,000. So it's a significant cost to the whole project, if it is successful, we'll be added to the 2026 budget. Also, it's an outlet that was identified as a problem in the road leak study, that there was a water issue there. It is all oversized, everything that is being proposed is oversized for what the township needs. Being that it's being put on road allowance is why we're paying such a large portion. So it's gonna be the best possible outlet. I think I do agree with the report, it's just a very expensive option for the township. We're paying for an outlet that we don't. What's there now is sufficient. Don't need the outlet be this size, but like I say, the report that they're putting forward does make sense. Put it in the designated versus put it back on private property and close it. You would have to technically not assessed all. You have a road ditch, but this is the best option, I think. Just wanted to make it for council clarification.
Yeah, but why are you digging up our driveway if it's the same size culvert that's going further down?
Go ahead, Bert.
It was. And I guess we can maybe clarify this after, we basically wanted it so a cohesive pipe size going all the way through the ditch and then also heading towards that per drain. Based on all of our records, we have everything is 2 foot or 24 inch, so the idea was even your existing pipe as a 21 inch, we wanted to make, we wanted to avoid exactly what your concern was, for the pipe to be, you know, to hit it all of a sudden to hit a bottleneck kind of thing. So the idea was for them all to be 24 inch or 2 foot diameter pipe.
From our driveway to the next south of us. South of us is all 21. I measured it this morning.
I guess we might just have to check our tape measures for, I know we've looked at that as well, but that's something we can clarify. Oh.
It's 21.
Good.
I don't want the water on our yard.
No. Sure about that, so, any other questions? So, it sounds like we need to do some checking on, make sure that the culverts are all 24 or whatever, and, whatever they happen to be. But other than that, is there anything else in the design of the drain that we need to be concerned about?
From our perspective, no, the 2 foot, pipe that we're sizing is, I'd say top higher standard than what you typically see for a situation like this. You know, a lot of the existing pipes, there were some 18-inch pipes and some of them had backward slopes. So what we'd be proposing would be a dramatic improvement to deal with a lot of flooding issues that they're seeing right now, so.
Yeah, but I propose that ours, since it's the same size as the next to us, doesn't get dug up. We have a new driveway. And we have cement on the other side, which is not being replaced.
So, both the cement on either side and the, ability to cut the driveway, or sorry, cut the ditch. And I appreciate that people want to do it. It's actually municipal property, I'm guessing. And so technically, it's up to the municipality to decide what they actually want on their property, whether they want to cut the ditch or, whatever. I would be curious to the comment that was Councillor Yetman, asked, how much more would it cost to bury the whole thing? I'm sure that that's a pretty simple.
That,
And there would be some kind of cost sharing with the residents, but there'd have to be, so.
okay.
If I could speak to that, I know there's a lot of other residents in this room that we spoke with considerably before this meeting that attended our information meetings and whatnot. If we were to consider burying the pipe, there would be an impact on their final costs as well. It wouldn't just be an impact on the Lena Dyke, the Dyke property there. There'd be impacts on others. I know with the group of landowners that we were able to get in touch with prior to this meeting, they were quite satisfied with what we were proposing. We do feel like it's the most cost effective option. That being said, if there is a very heavy interest in pursuing that, yeah, we can definitely look into that. It just is gonna increase people's costs, so.
I would like knowing how much it costs would be for us, and then bury all of it.
Well, we don't know what it costs, so you might not want to bury it all, but anyway. So direction from council on this, now I'm pleased to say. We want, the engineers to look at the potential and, Daniel, any concerns from your perspective?
No real concerns. I mean, we've had several meetings prior to us to kind of hash these kind of things out, but, I think that that's the direction we people want to go, I'm not opposed to it, but I mean, probably should have brought up a previous meeting, but then I know all notices were sent out for, the previous meetings.
My husband was diagnosed with cancer, so we were busy with treatments.
Okay. Councillor Yeo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just wondering if we could approach this, like to bury the drain, if we approach it on a property by property basis. So according to our drainage folks, what's there now already services the road adequately enough. And so we don't really need it. It's municipal property, to your comment. And so if the residents request having a closed drain in front of their property, if we do it on a case by case basis and assess the full amount of the burial to each individual property owner over and above what the municipal drain would cost.
Trevor, your comment would be?
I would certainly see that as being a fair way to look at that. If somebody wants it enclosed in front of their property, if they're willing to front the cost, and similar to Lena's comment on the concrete head walls, if that's something that they would like to see on their property, typically so in this particular project, the road's been assessed the cost to do what we call a typical laneway restoration. So the asphalt work and like a typical grading out of the laneway that's been assessed to the roads. Usually anything special, if a landowner really wants it, we can definitely accommodate that, but then we would ask them to pay the increased costs. Actually, one example that didn't come up here, the one under property owner, they have a finished concrete laneway. So we actually had a discussion with them after the meeting. Everybody was getting proposed a new asphalt entrance, and for them, we said, you know, we could do asphalt, or if you wanted concrete, what we can do is we can basically provide you basically the value that other people are getting for the asphalt laneway, as an allowance, and then leave it to you to reestablish the concrete. So we are able to make those decisions on a case by case basis. Unfortunately, coming in here today, and I appreciate Lena's comment, and certain cancers are very tough thing to deal with, and it's very understandable that she wasn't available for those meetings, or this wasn't front of mind, but we could potentially look at having making a property by property accommodation. Potentially, unfortunately, we'd be, like alluding to what Dan said, we're kind of backing up a little bit on process. We have to make some revisions to a report and reissue it. I guess at that point, that's the decision of the council right now, so. Sorry if that provides a little more money to the water, probably.
That was, sort of what my concern was, every time you do more work, as engineers, then it gets assessed to everybody. And including the township, so, before I actually do something, I want to make sure the council says that's what they want done, and if they don't want it done, they want it done. So I guess I'm just looking for direction from council here. Just go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, I just want to comment on, company of us on closing the drain. That will, kind of eliminate the roads of that. If we start closing it in all the way along, we will have a road ditch. So, I mean, it is certainly possible we can do it through the engineer. Just be added cost, a lot more added cost, because we need catch basins to catch that little water, so it would be significant.
Any other comments, Councilor Quick?
Question for Adam. Seems to me we had a homeowner had to remove his culvert on, is that on Carter? Because you couldn't clean it.
Yeah.
So how could that scenario affect this?
Yeah. Similar to my previous point, if we close them and we can't serve, we won't have a ditch, so it's similar to that one on Farm Road. Homeowner closed themselves for a pipe and area which we don't allow. This would become a municipal drain, so roads would be kind of taken out of the main side of it, and drainage would be better on the inside, but closing it raises a new issue when it's roadside, then we won't have a roadside ditch, that's our problem. What we propose is probably the best option, all right, it is the best option, it's just very costly, being it's on municipal property. And even if we do close a portion of it, we're still gonna be assessed a higher cost going forward.
So, direction to staff there. What is the decision on this drainage report? Or, sorry, direction to the engineers, probably one that's down. So the recommendation is that we accept the report and approves the bylaw, so. Councilor Webb.
I move that we accept this report and, draft the bylaw.
Accept as is. Okay, so we have a second for that. Seconded by Yitman. Any further discussion? Councilor Hills.
I just would add in that we confirm the sizes of those culverts and accept this moving forward.
Okay, thank you. The direction to the engineers, I think, so, anything further? All those in favor? Opposed, that's carried. Okay, so thanks very much, and, just out of curiosity, Kiefer's from, Milverton, what would your dad's name be?
If you're thinking of what is West Pittsburgh, I'm guessing the one you're
Nope.
thinking of, it's Paul.
Oh, okay.
So there's
There's a bunch of them. Okay, thank you very much. Next is, staff reports and CEO 20 conference report, Julie, is that you?
Thank you, Mayor Gary. Just brief introduction to this report. The purpose of the report is to provide council with a summary of the 2025 annual conference that Treasurer Brooke Mann and I attended on behalf of the township a couple of weeks ago. I don't have too much to add to the report beyond the details that are already provided. As noted in this report, this year's conference focused heavily on affordable housing and infrastructure challenges, as well as mental health, addictions, and healthy communities. The topic of municipal funding partnerships and recurring funding framework was also discussed with the call for the province to revisit this model to ensure more sustainable support for municipalities moving forward. actually those smaller municipalities with limited growth opportunities. I'd like to thank council for the opportunity to attend. It was a very valuable learning experience for staff, and we had a chance to connect with other projects and colleagues, including staff and council members at the county level. And that I'm happy to try to answer any questions that council may have.
Questions from council? Councilor.
Not a question, just a comment, based on last year's conference and how long it took to get the reports forward. And looking at the quality of the report this year versus last year and the turnaround time, I'm gonna suggest that if I ever go back to April, I want Julie beside me so that she can get the report in for me.
We'll look into that. Any other questions or comments on this report? Something to be, first of all, thank you for going. Every time, and we have an opportunity for staff to learn and expand their understanding of issues and all that sort of is good. But it is their time too, so I appreciate that. And to come to you this comment. Yeah, excellent report. Thanks very much for it. Okay, need a motion then to receive this information. Moved by Eckert, seconded by Thurston, result, Council of Township Subject Officer, receive report CO 2025 annual conference information report as information. And any discussion? Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. The next item, I think might take a little longer, so I'm wondering, we should break for lunch now, is lunch here?
Yes.
Okay, let's break for lunch now, we'll come back in half an hour. Okay, thank you.